If you haven't got yourself a watering lance, I would highly recommend one.
Living in Wales, we do get a lot of rain, so the grass grows really quickly, and keeping up with it is a lot of work.
It's far stronger than any kind of seaweed solution we've ever used. We've had a good few days of really beautiful blue sky sunshine, and today is no different. The temperature is perfect, especially for gardening, because it's still got that kind of hint of freshness in the air. So it's not muggy at all, and it's really going to be great because we can really crack on this week with getting some jobs done. We've got an awful lot of planting to do, so all of those bulbs that we got sent by Dutch Grown, they have all fully established now and grown in their pots. We actually just planted up this space behind me a few days ago, because you see that space that Mars is in, basically where he is kind of not standing but in that space. That is how wide we had one plant, and it was a Hebe, and I think it was a really established old Hebe, so I think it had really got some good legs on it. Unfortunately, this winter just took it out. In fact, it took out all of our Hebes, so we needed to replace this unfortunate massive Hebe that we lost. So what we've done is just relocated some of the things that we had growing in kind of unsuitable areas in the garden and actually moved it here. The heucheras, we did buy those a few weeks ago, and I think that must be on one of our other vlogs. That one, that's a viburnum, and that was actually growing. We found that growing underneath this big shrub. Right underneath it, growing up through it, was this viburnum. So we rescued that and moved him over. And I have to say, I don't think he appreciated being moved, but at least he's got a much better space to grow in. And then we also moved this one here that Mars is touching. That's, I think, a sorbet. The viburnum, that had completely collapsed. We moved him, and within a few hours he was drooping, and then the next day we came out and he was practically on the floor. He was so unhappy that we had moved him. So what I did was I actually gave him a really good, strong, healthy shot of the sapropol, the sapropol. As soon as I see a plant really struggling or really unhappy or is just having a really hard time of it, I just give it a really good shot of the sapropol and make sure that I stay on top of it. So if it needs another shot in another couple of weeks, I'll give it another shot. It's far stronger than any kind of seaweed solution we've ever used, and it always works. It always rescues and saves my plants that are in real, sorry state. So it's my kind of SOS thing to go to. And a huge thank you to this week's sponsor, Dutch Grown. They are very kindly sponsoring us again, and it's going to be really exciting this week to just get all of those plants that they sent us in bulbs into the ground. I just got to say, I'm so impressed and so excited that everything just has taken and worked again. I think from the tulips that we had from Dutch Grown this year, the daffodils, and now these plants that they sent us this year, that was just in bulb or root or corn form, to see them growing on has just completely affirmed for me that bulbs are, for me, just the way to go. I absolutely love bulb plants, and now I've actually found that I'm so confident now because I've grown these plants on from the bulbs, like the astilbes, the echinacea, and I've had such good success that now I kind of go into the garden centre and I'm kind of thinking, well, actually, I'm not sure is that bulb, does that grow on from a bulb? Because if it does, I'm just going to order the bulb, because it's just so much more cost efficient.
And the one thing that got reaffirmed to me this year is that a lot of our perennials that we had got nailed by the snow and the cold weather, so we've lost all those plants. I think the biggest thing about bulbs is because they're underground, obviously you still need a lot of drainage, which we're quite fortunate with because our soil actually does drain quite quickly.
Yeah.
So, the bulbs do come out year after year after year.
Yeah, just reliable.
It's
really
just reliable, and a lot of them naturalize, so they spread, they grow. I never really knew much about bulbs, but I've certainly become a huge fan of bulbs now.
Yeah, I think the value for money you get on bulbs is honestly incredible. Really, I can't recommend it enough. So give it a go. If you haven't grown anything on from a bulb, don't be intimidated. Give it a go. It's so easy, so simple. So if you're planting up peonies like this that are coming out of the pot, what you want to do is just make sure that you don't bury it. So do not go above or beneath the soil level, so make sure that your hole is not so deep that you're then putting the soil kind of back up to here. You really want to stay completely in line with the soil level of the pot. So you just want to make sure that your hole is not too deep. And then we're just going to apply a little bit of the fish meal. just as a testimony to how good the quality is from Dutch grown, and or just how good it is to actually grow your plants on yourself from bulbs. We've got some peonies here that you can see. Miles, maybe you can point the little peonies out. No, the baby ones.
Oh, yeah.
These ones are actually bought from a garden centre last year. There's one there that Miles is pointing to, and then there's another one just here, which I don't know if you can see, and they're absolutely tiny. And when I got them, they were that size, and in a year they've really put on no growth whatsoever. And I think it just goes to show that actually when you grow stuff on yourself and you're able to give it those really consistent, good quality conditions, the plants that you end up with at the end are sometimes, or for me, more often than not, are actually better quality.
These are about 3 to 4 years old, right?
Yeah.
And this is this year's.
Yeah.
And it's literally almost at the same height already.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, honestly. These ones from Dutch Grown are the actual perfect height for me to apply our new plant supports. I think I'm just going to leave it at this height, A, because I've hit a rock, B, because I'm in deep enough, and I'm literally just touching the top of that bud, so that'll give the peony a little bit of space to grow up into this plant support and help it. So we've decided to put a drift of the astilbes here, so we're just going to run them up next to the azalea, and then in behind the azalea in front of the new rhodies that we've moved there. I think it would just be really nice because with astilbes they've got kind of quite a tall flower, spire type flower, and it's just a really nice kind of fluffy flower. It's kind of got a real softness to it, so I think that could be really nice with the azalea, and a bit of a kind of contrast of flower to the quite bulky rhododendron flowers that we get. So peonies and astilbes are in. This is the echinaceas, the gladiolis, a couple of things from the RHS Malvern show, and the aqualegias. And they are coming into bud, but I actually have an aqualegia that was actually growing here on the property wild when we first moved in, and it's flowering. So if you haven't seen an aqualegia flower, they come in so many different shapes and sizes, but this is a really good example of one that we've got here. So it kind of gives you an idea of kind of what they look like and how delicate they are as a flower. They're so pretty. I can't tell you how structural they are as an actual flower. They've just got so much detail and really delicate, and look how many flowers you get off them. So once they really come into flower, you get a mass of flowers on them, and they're really beautiful in a vase as well. So we've moved down here to the bench, which basically faces the pond, and I also just wanted to show you here. These are all of our bluebells, which are beautifully coming out, and the blossom is just finishing on the tree. So we've got this bench here, and then underneath, I'm not sure if you can see that big, huge copper beech. And in that area, we try and keep it quite wild and like overgrown. It's a really nice place for if the ducks want to come out of the pond and have somewhere nice and cool to lay down during the day, the hot summer days. Because the grass is quite long in there, they feel quite protected and they can just go and kind of rest. So it's quite a nice wildlife area. And I did put some echinacea in there last year. So I thought it'd be nice to put the echinaceas that we've just grown on in here, in this border behind the bench. The echinaceas will hopefully be nice and tall, and they'll just give us that height of that kind of pinky purple flower just behind the bench. And then we've already got some hot pink salvia in there as well. So I just think that with the echinacea there and the previous echinacea that we've got in that area, hopefully it'll just tie the two spaces together and give us that kind of pop of colour that we need. for us to plant the aquilegia, because what we found is that aquilegia does not get eaten by rabbits. And underneath this deck we actually have a rabbit warren, so we know we have rabbits here, and the whole family comes out and they feed off the grass underneath the orchard trees. So we have to be really careful about what we plant here. We've got the veronica here, we're adding the aquilegia, and then we've also got the gladioli that we're just putting in, and the crocosmias, and they're all great. So we're working with nature, not against it, so that we can all live together happily in the garden.
It's grass cutting day today, and between the lawn in front and the field behind me we have to mow about 3/4 of an acre. Living in Wales we do get a lot of rain, so the grass grows really quickly, and keeping up with it is a lot of work. So I've got the ride-on out and we're going to start zipping up and down, and hopefully over the course of the next kind of hour we'll be able to get all of the grass cut. For this week at least. This year Stiga have sent us their battery operated Tornado ride-on mower. It's got a massive cutting deck, the biggest cutting deck we've actually used on a ride-on mower. So getting up and down the field is really quick.
So today we're going to plant up the remaining plants that we've grown on from Dutch Grown. We've got some irises, gladioli, and lilies, and hostas to get in the ground. So it's really exciting. I've never had gladiolis before, and I've never grown gladiolis before. So this is completely new for me. So the fact that I've even had success growing them on from bulb is really exciting. And then to get them in the ground, in the garden, and actually see them flourish and bloom is going to be incredibly exciting this year. It's been a very productive week and very busy, and I have to say I'm definitely at that point where I'm just really glad that we have planted everything. Every single thing that we planted from Dutch Grown is in, that we've grown on from bulbs, that's in the ground. It's fantastic. I've got a couple of things left over which I'm going to give to a friend because I don't have really any space for those. The gladiolis are happy, the lilies are happy, everything looks happy, the hostas are in pots.
And the vegetable garden is now fully planted out, so there's nothing more to go in there.
Yeah.
We've added a couple of raspberries around the outside, or berries I should say, around the exterior of the perimeter of the vegetable garden.
Which is great because we've actually finished that now, because we've been gradually adding to the outside of that perimeter of the vegetable garden, that fence line. So every year we've been putting in a few more berries. And
I actually counted them.
Oh yeah.
We've got 18.
Wow.
There's 18 different berries now in and around the vegetable garden. So.
And I think every single one of them's different. So.
Most of them are different, but the only thing is that the birds always tend to get to a lot of them before we do.
Yeah.
They leave the yosta berries, which are actually quite interesting. I kind of like them.
We've got honey berries, yosta berries, goji berries, raspberries, black currants, red currants, white currants, tay berries. We've just got so many. So anyway, we've got 18. So. We've got to get some berries off one of them. And it's just been such a gorgeous weather week, hasn't it? It's just been blue skies every day, and a good temperature as well, because even though it is hot in the sun and the UV is high, the actual breeze is really cool. So it's actually been really perfect for gardening. So now it's just a question of actually just getting on with kind of maintenance, isn't it?
And just letting the sun do its thing. Even your dahlias are popping out.
Dahlias are starting to come up, which is great. Oh, and then we put the 2 in from Dutch Grown, those dahlias as well. So that's going to be exciting to see. All of our garden furniture is wood, and every single piece needs to be sanded down and varnished this year. So that is an epic amount of work, which I don't think either of us are looking forward to. No. Sanding is not our favourite job. Neither is really varnishing, to be honest. But but we've got to do it this year, so we've got a lot of that to crack on with. And I think next week is going to be a tidy up week, so we've got a bit of DIY jobs in the garden to do, some trellises to put up, that kind of thing.
And because the weather's been so warm, we need to get more watering done, and you're super excited because your new Karcher spray lance has arrived.
Yes.
Which you absolutely love.
Yeah, this is not sponsored by Karcher, so this is not an ad for Karcher. There are plenty of lances on the market, and you can look for them. But I have to say, honestly, I think every hose pipe should have a lance of some description. It is so fantastic to be able to water your plants with a lance. It gives you that extra reach to plant pots and things, and you know, hanging baskets, you literally just go like that, and it's like giving you that extra height, which is really fantastic. And if you're wanting to water in your flower beds as well, it gives you that reach towards the back of the kind of fence, that kind of into the depths of the border. So I really recommend looking at garden watering lances if you haven't got one already. This has got lots of different settings. I think it's like got 8 different sprays, or 6, yeah, different sprays, which is another thing that you want to just think about. And then the most important thing, I think, when I was looking online for a lance to begin with, was somebody said get one that's got a control here. And I have to say, not many of them do have that control, and some of the ones I've seen actually have kind of a more of a tap. So you kind of turn it on with the tap, which means that you need both hands, which is fine. But actually that one, you can just do it with your thumb. So you can literally turn it on and off with your thumb, and it is such a good control. If you haven't got yourself a watering lance, I would highly recommend one. So just pop through to the front because the back suddenly got a little bit noisy. So we're going to put the lance on as well, which is really great. And that's going to help us with our watering.
And I've also got a small DIY job that I probably want to get done. Maybe we'll add it to next week's vlog. And that is setting up the water pump for the vegetable garden, because our water pressure is just so awful down there.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that little project goes successfully, because what should be taking me about 15 to 20 minutes to water is taking me well over an hour. That's with, you know, with the water pump and the water lance.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll get a little bit more efficient.
Yeah, watering the vegetable garden. Good stuff. So a huge thank you to Dutch Grown once again for sponsoring this video. We love working with Dutch Grown. They are just really, really great bulb providers. And I have to say, I am just the biggest bulb advocate out there. I think, yeah, I just love them. And I think, honestly, if you're on a budget in your garden and you're looking to have flowers, bulbs are the way to go. A, because they're simple and really cost efficient to grow on, but also the fact that you then get that repetitive flowering every single year. I think it's just a winner, isn't it? So yeah, really recommend looking at bulbs for your garden if you don't have some already in there.
And we're going to be doing updates on all of the varieties that we've planted this year. They'll be going on our Instagram account.
Yeah.
So we'll have detailed videos on all of those.
Yeah, we do have an Instagram account, so head over to our Instagram, then you can we do literally post on there every single day, so you'll be able to see what's happening and, you know, send us messages and see what's happening in the garden and see everything growing and coming into full bloom. Oh, and that actually reminds me that I don't know if you remember, but on the last vlog from Malvern, we bought this flower, which is a corn lily, an African corn lily, which I've now found out is also called an ixia, IXIA, and Dutch Grown actually sell those. So that is fantastic, because at the end of this year, I think in the autumn bulbs, I'm going to be putting in an order for a whole bunch of these, and they come in like deep fuchsia pink, purples, reds, like a whole bunch of different colors. So I'm going to be ordering a whack of those to put into the garden, because they really are just so beautiful. And the fact that they have flowered, look how many flowers you get on one stem. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, we're going to be definitely adding a lot more of those to the garden.
So we hope that you enjoyed this week's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Take care. Bye.